So if you have an exposure like that, one would be a horrible exposure, regulation violations, tenant suit because the apartment is uninhabitable. There could be a tenant discrimination, although that would be on the EPL or tenant discrimination policy. So essentially what they're saying is the earnings from the apartment are going to the investors and not to the upkeep of the apartment. So there's a D&O, E&O professional policy. Getting that to quote, there's an insured versus insured. What you were talking about was an insured versus insured exclusion. There's a public distribution, there's the public exclusion, so it doesn't apply to exempt registration. And there's a professional exclusion. It's different for a public company. There's a carve back for the product liability exclusion. Right, I understand this. And he understands this. The fund manager, so, with the T company, they know when to get off the risk. They're good at that. The ownership, there's, major, something to look for is that major shareholder exclusion. So for the D&O, for anyone who owns more than 5%, investors, they own more than the fund managers, than the managers in this case. So you don't use it doesn't have a major shareholder exclusion. That's something to look for. There's the, the PPM. So if you're promising like a 24% return, they wouldn't want to have that large, we're putting on the PPM a 24% return, even if that pencils, it's like 7 to 10% might be what you're aiming at, but not, and then you overshoot that. And the policies exclude the guarantee.